Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has continued his phone conversations with world leaders with a video and written press statement on Saturday saying that the world leaders must ensure that the Russian President Vladimir Putin is not allowed to deceive the world again, insisting that Putin has used Russian army, intelligence services and mercenaries over 30 years to bring death to America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Syria. Zelenskyy stated after he began special defense campaign with phone conversations with world leaders following strained relationship with one of the countries that has majorly assisted Ukraine in its defense against Russia since 2022 when the war began. United States, U.S. President Donald Trump, who threatened to stop military aid to Ukraine, claiming that Ukraine started the war it knows it cannot win, calling President Volodymyr Zelenskyy a modestly successful comedian and a dictator that deceived the immediate past U.S. President Joe Biden to commit over $350 billion of U.S. taxpayers' money on a war the North America country will not get any profit in return, with Ukrainian President accusing Donald Trump of disinformation and saying that Putin-led Russia has intensified attacks and launched massive bomb destructions on Ukraine cities and villages during the week of Donald Trump's outburst. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, while responding to the accusations made against him by President Donald Trump, said that the U.S. president is living in disinformation space. Joe Biden is a very dumb man, President Trump said, criticizing former President Biden's handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and his approach to Vladimir Putin during an appearance on The Brian Kilmeade Show during the week. President Donald Trump had said on Tuesday that Ukraine was responsible for Russia's invasion of the country 3 years ago, arguing Kyiv could have made a deal to avoid the conflict. "You should have never started it," Trump said of Ukraine while criticizing President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who had expressed concern that his country was not included in talks between the US and Russia in Saudi Arabia. "I think I have the power to end this war, and I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited." "Well, you've been there for 3 years," Trump told reporters at his Mar-a-Lago resort. "You should have never started it. You could have made a deal," adding, "I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way." While speaking with American governors on Friday, President Donald Trump said that, "I've had very good talks with Putin, and I've had not such good talks with Ukraine." President Donald Trump's envoy to Ukraine and Russia said on Friday that he had held extensive and positive discussions with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy about the 3-year war with Russia and praised the Ukrainian leader as an embattled and courageous leader of a nation at war. Retired U.S. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, who traveled to Kyiv, head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis is not out of danger and his health worsened on Saturday evening, says Vatican. The Vatican made this known a few moments ago, saying the health condition of the Catholic Pope has worsened more than it was on Friday and the health of the Catholic Church is uncomfortable. The Vatican said the 88-year-old Pope Francis, who is being treated in hospital for double pneumonia, will not appear in public on Sunday to lead his usual weekly prayer with pilgrims for a second consecutive week. In quote, Vatican stated in the press release thus, the Holy See Press Office issued the following medical update on Pope Francis on Saturday evening. "The condition of the Holy Father continues to be critical. Therefore, as explained yesterday, the Pope is not out of danger. This morning, Pope Francis experienced an asthma-like respiratory crisis of prolonged intensity, which required the administration of high-flow oxygen. Today's blood tests also revealed thrombocytopenia, associated with anemia, which required the administration of blood transfusions. The Holy Father remains alert and spent the day in an armchair, although he is more uncomfortable than yesterday. At the moment, the prognosis remains guarded. It would be recalled that during the week, Pope Francis had privately told his aides that he may not survive his current battle with pneumonia and is making preparations for his legacy, including considerations for his successor. Pope Francis, who was diagnosed with pneumonia in both lungs and admitted to a hospital in Rome with bronchitis last Friday, slept well overnight and ate breakfast on Wednesday, the Vatican said. A source at the institution said the pontiff was not suffering heart problems and was breathing on his own, without the aid of a respirator. They said he was sitting up in an armchair at times, and it was understood that he is under strict orders from his medical team to rest. The Vatican said Pope Francis had a peaceful night, a day after revealing the 88-year-old pontiff has pneumonia in both lungs. The Pope is under strict orders to rest and is not allowed visitors, but he has been signing documents and making phone calls from the hospital. According to the Vatican, Pope Francis was diagnosed with a polymicrobial respiratory tract infection. Recent tests reveal a complex clinical picture, requiring an extended hospital stay for the 88-year-old pontiff in Rome. Local media reported that the Vatican is reportedly making preparations for Pope Francis's funeral amid concerns over the 88-year-old pontiff's declining health. The blood tests, evaluated by the medical staff, show a slight improvement, particularly in the inflammatory markers, according to the previous press release issued by the Holy See Press Office on Pope Francis's health on Wednesday evening. It described the Holy Father's condition as stable. Continuing, the statement explained the Pope had breakfast in the morning and then engaged in work activities with his closest collaborators. Before lunch, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) have handed over millions of naira recovered from internet criminals to representatives of the fraud victims in America, Spain and Switzerland, just as the EFCC arraigned a lawyer for 1.3 billion naira's forex fraud in Uyo and more 35 Chinese nationals for cyber-terrorism's internet fraud in Lagos State. EFCC, in numbers of news releases during the week, disclosed this as presented verbatim below. EFCC hands over $132,362.43, 78,566,324 nairas and 81 kobos to foreign victims of fraud. As a gesture of its commitment to tackling economic and financial crimes and offering restitution to victims of fraudulent practices, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has handed over a total sum of $132,362 United States dollars, 43 cents, 78,566,324 naira, 81 kobo to American, Spanish and Swiss victims of local fraudsters. The handover, which was performed by the executive chairman of the commission, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, took place on Friday, February 21, 2025 at the EFCC's corporate headquarters in Jabi, Abuja. A delighted Olukoyede observed that the event is a demonstration of the commitment of the federal government of Nigeria and that of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the fight against corruption and financial crimes. A commitment to good governance, a commitment to stimulating the economy, and a commitment to prove to the entire world that Nigeria is not a safe haven for financial crimes. A commitment to international cooperation and international synergy in the fight against financial crimes, which you will agree with me, has become a global crime. Speaking further, he said, "We are here to demonstrate that the federal government of Nigeria, through the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is ready to do everything possible to prevent financial crimes from being perpetrated in our system. And when one has taken place, to investigate where assets are involved, to trace, to recover, and where necessary, prosecute. We don't just recover, we restitute the victims. We are here this morning to restitute those who were victimized through the perpetration of economic and financial crimes. It is important to know that once proceeds of crime are recovered, the most responsible thing to do is to restitute the victims." handed over in addition to money and vehicles and real estate to citizens of Spain, United States of America and Switzerland. Acting Ambassador of Spain to Nigeria, Maria Higon Velasco received the sum of $1,300 and evidence of 30 million naira already transferred to the Embassy of Spain in Nigeria for onward transmission to a victim, Maria del Rosario San Jose. Florent Gill, Senior Political Officer, First Secretary.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.